So you didn't even want to get out of the car to go meet these
Yeah.
people, and you're leading them less than a year later.
Yeah. Well, remember, like my code is always you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, right? So that was I needed someone to disrupt that. He took a pay cut. I didn't learn this till later on in life and stuff. He didn't talk about it. But character and family was such a strong, and he had he wasn't this big type of ego guy. He was just someone that grew up on the streets and got us into a better world.
You barely got into Springfield for what you're saying, right?
Barely. Yeah. Yeah. So um I didn't know how I was going to do it. The probability was against me, but I knew somehow I was going to figure it out. It was a really rough path where I was down a lot and felt defeated.
So you lost your dad during that program while you were in the PhD program?
Yeah, yeah, I guess it was my fourth year. Yeah, yeah,
That had to have been
yeah.
really hard.
It was incredibly hard, and also I don't know. I've got this fortunate, innate, weird, unique brain where I was like, okay, that wasn't very good. So how do we use this?
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NewCalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Rob Fazio, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together, like I just told you. But like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about motivational currency. I want to talk about all the amazing things that you're doing to help advise corporations and your clients and that type of thing. I mean, this is the coolest stuff. It really is. And I'm super excited for us to talk about it today. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Love having these conversations. And everyone's path has different kind of turns, and I feel grateful for my path and kind of how I grew up. So I grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey, about 20 minutes outside New York City. Classic, my dad was an executive in New York and did that 2-hour commute each way, which I opted out of once I got older. And
I don't blame you, bud. I don't
yeah,
blame
oh,
you.
it's brutal. Back then, Mike, it was the upside of it was, you're on these buses or trains. The upside of it was back then you had the Walkman. I'm aging
Yeah.
myself, but the cassettes,
Yeah.
and that's where I started learning about self-development because
Yeah.
I was a heavy worry ward, like not confident kiddo,
Yeah.
and I didn't want my life to be that way for the rest of it.
Yeah.
That on top of I saw my dad, coming home every day and just, stressed out. He's a
Yeah.
great guy, great family man, but he worked for one of those manipulative CFOs that was a narcissist, and it really impacted, how he showed up at home. And I
Yeah.
think I started becoming obsessed with there has to be a better way, and
Yeah.
people shouldn't have to feel powerless. And when people come home, they should be able to be present with their kids and not be worried about their boss. So I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I think that's what sparked my interest in this leadership space. Um, and then, I went off to start out school in New York at Pace, and it was a business school, but I wanted something a little different. So I went off to Penn State, which was a great experience. And there I started dabbling in sports psychology and such. And the message I got was don't apply to doctor programs because you're not going to get in. You don't got the GPAs, you don't have the GRE score, and those are messages I kind of got all throughout, which, being Sicilian, that put a little chip on my shoulder. And said, okay, let's see how let's see how this.
Tell me I can't do it. Come on. I
Yeah,
dare you.
exactly. Let's see how this plays out. So I basically just got gritty, figured out a way to go to a grad school program that didn't require the GRE, got my experiences up, met some people, networked, worked my butt off, and then eventually got into school of my dreams to go on and get my doctorate. And I think that getting beat down and realizing that all these messages, if had I internalized them, I'd be somewhere else doing
Oh, yeah.
something different. And I think that's such a part of the work that I do is we don't realize that we get so many messages from bosses, from family members, from people who have no idea what we're trying to do, and they limit us. And so that's why I love the sports psychology work. And I always had a passion for understanding business, and that brought me to my leadership advising work. And in that world, I do your classic things, your executive advising, your keynote speaking, and I love getting, I've developed a niche, not on purpose, but working with really difficult, strong personalities, the alphas, the people that often are ones that are creating the dysfunction, and that's kind of what my specialty is kind of being an alpha whisperer and helping those people realize the value that they're losing and how much more they can get at people and themselves.
I love that. The alpha whisperer. I love that. That is so cool. I interviewed somebody the other day and I called her the CEO whisperer because that's literally what she does. She goes and stands in front of a group of CEOs and she says, look, you can connect with your people. You can. You can have a much more rich culture in your company. You can.
Yeah.
You have it in your capable. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like she's wanting to reach down and just shake them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like
Absolutely.
just for a second, play along with me. What if we could? You know what I'm saying? And the alpha
Yes.
whisperer thing. There's a lot to that, and I want to get into it because I absolutely love what you do. I told you this before we started, but I'm getting
Yeah.
goosebumps just talking about this, man. This is so cool. Can we go back just a second?
Sure.
So growing up where you grew up in New Jersey, what was your favorite thing about growing up there?
The people, it's Jersey gets a bad rap,
Yeah.
for many reasons. Some of them rightfully so.
Some of them
But it's
deserved.
a place where, yeah, totally, totally. I gotta be careful because I live in South Jersey now. I was gonna
I
make a comment,
know.
but I won't.
I know. I'm like, okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's northern New Jersey, kind of that New York area. It's just about connecting with people, and it just happens so naturally. And connecting might be making fun of a buddy,
Yeah.
or razzing one another, but there is such a premium placed on other people and yourself, and it's a place where you have to have an edge, you have to have a vibe, and if you want to be successful, that you have to be able to take punches,
Yeah.
metaphorically, right? You've got to be able to roll with it. I wasn't good at that as a kid, but when I realized when I went on to college, like that served me so well, right?
Gotcha.
Growing up in that area. So I love the people aspect of it. I love it's
So it's a
there's a
cultural
strong
thing.
desire. It's a cultural thing, right? There's fights about who's got the best pizza place within 10 miles, right? Things like that, bagels, what age can you go into New York City,
They're
and
fighting about
what
the
teams
important things, is what you're saying.
that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh my gosh.
Food and sports, right?
I
Yeah, there
love
you go.
this, man. I love this. That's so cool. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Definitely my dad.
Yeah.
He grew up in the Bronx. He lost his dad as 8 years old, and he
Oh,
he was a quiet guy, but spoke through example, right? He just had very strong values, was always present. I remember some cool stories like when they were going through big layoffs at his company, rather than, lay off someone, he took a pay cut. I didn't learn this till later on in life and stuff. He didn't talk about it. But, character and family was such a strong, and he had he wasn't this big type of ego guy. He was just someone that grew up on the streets and got us into a better world. So I have very good dumb luck, Mike, for being born into a family, that had a dad that all he cared about was hanging out with his family and, being a good dad because he didn't have one. And I benefited from that greatly.
That's awesome, man. What a great story.
Yeah.
So what did your dad do for a living? You say he was an executive, right?
Yeah, so he was a reinsurance accountant for a company called Aon Re.
Okay.
And yeah, so one of those boring jobs being an
Yeah,
accountant and such, yeah.
that's cool. So in high school, did you have a favorite subject other than girls and recess?
Very good. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, honestly, it sounds but it was like gym.
Yeah.
I looked forward to gym class
Yeah.
because I was one of those kids who had a hard time keeping up academically. So I was
Yeah.
always in trouble. I loved sports, things like that. But when I was at gym class, it just felt natural. Like I wasn't this great athlete or anything, but like, I could throw a football.
Yeah.
So I felt very comfortable doing that. And as I mentioned, I was overweight. So there were a lot of times where I felt uncomfortable, but I was like the fastest fat kid in the high school. So
Wow.
like I was like had like so I just enjoyed the physical activity. It was easy to pick up things and learn. I liked the sport and the team aspect of things, and it gave me a break from the things that I wasn't good at.
I got you. I got you. Did you have a favorite teacher in high school?
In high school, gosh, that's a good question because there's
Probably your PE teacher.
yeah. Well, the coaches, the coaches, you kind of develop friendships and
Yeah.
and such. But you know, I'm trying to think, this is interesting. There was a teacher, this woman who was so grumpy, and we called her Crabby, and because she was so grumpy, but she was just like this no BS person, and like she hated freshmen, and she let it know, and like I don't even talk to you until you're a sophomore. And like by my senior year, like she was just my favorite person to hang out with, and I got to like really understand. For her, it was all like, you've got to earn my respect, kids, and then I'll be your best bud and help you. I kind of like that approach.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. Sort of that tough exterior,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
did you have a
exactly.
favorite sport in high school?
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was something I just always loved and stuff. And I actually, so not to talk about messages and trying to be resilient, but I didn't go out for football my freshman year because I was just afraid of everything. And I was a pretty good athlete, didn't do it, and then started sophomore year and quit. And that was kind of like my essay was all about like the quarterback of the football team saying, Fazio, why'd you quit? And that became a mantra. I said, I never want to hear those words again.
Yeah.
So then senior year, I went out and did well and stuff. But it was just that idea of like, I would defeat myself. So I'll tell you one quick story.
Yeah.
We'd have these night games in football, and I was a nose guard. Like I said, I was a lot heavier. I would look at the program, Mike, ahead of the game to see who I was going to be up against. And if that person weighed more than me, I'd be like, I'm not even going to be able to move them. And I would defeat myself before the game. Nuts, right?
Yeah. Wow. So there was a whole lot of really bad programming going on inside your mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was one of those person that just was always thinking, and
Yeah.
I was taking in a lot. But it also gave me a lot of gifts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you had a lot to build from, right? I mean, part of being overweight is you have this sort of lie going on in your head, and it just continues, and it becomes this loop, and it becomes something that you adopt, and you adopt it as truth. And it becomes that, right? I lost 162 pounds. I can tell you
All
it's
right.
right.
Wow.
It's a lie. It's an absolute lie that's going
Yeah.
on in your head. And until you
Yes.
realize what it is and then you figure out how to counteract it, it's all messaging, right? It's all basically a narrative that's going on in your mind. And, people talk about voices and all that kind of stuff. You have a voice in your mind and it's you. You're literally,
Yes.
right? Until you figure out how to overtake that and overcome it, right? And sort of take control of it to an extent, it's going to run your life, and not in a good way, right? Not in a positive way. That's why I love what
Exactly.
you do so much, because a lot of what you do talks about why people do what they do and what their quote unquote motivational currency is, right? And everybody has
Yes.
them, right? I mean, in the video that you have there, everybody has a coin and it's different for everybody, right? And so the
Yes,
thing that
exactly.
motivates them is different for everybody. I love that, man. It's brilliant. So, and I think you're brilliant. I love the fact that you came from what you came from to be who you are today and to add the kind of value that you're adding to the world. And I wanted to acknowledge you for it. This is a remarkable thing that you're doing, and the value that you're adding is remarkable. And I just wanted you to know that there's somebody in this world that really appreciates what you're doing. so
Thank you.
so after high school, you decide to go to Pace. Number one, why, right? And then what was your favorite thing about attending there?
So I went to Pace because my parents said I had to go to college and they filled out my college application. I did not want to go to college. Nope, I was terrible.
Your
Like did
parents
not
filled out your college application.
100% Italian
Oh
mom,
my
bro.
goodness
It's what
gracious.
it is. Yeah. Yeah,
So you're
exactly. And they were
going,
so
here's
yep.
how we know, right?
Yeah, yeah. They go to college and such, and they thought it was really important. And so there wasn't a choice. So I was just a bratty, teenage kid, and while there, I met some of the greatest friends in my world. But my mom tells a story of how I called like right around like freshman year, halfway into the semester. I said, Mom, love my friends here. I said, however, everyone sounds like Vinny Del Pino is from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. Like, I've got to get out of the boroughs. Like, I need something different, something bigger for me. And that's when I transferred out. But to this day, my best friends in the world are from Pace and that crew.
So your parents picked Pace, filled out your college
Yeah.
application, and probably packed your bags, right? I mean, you're out
Yes.
of here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you go to school at Pace, and you're there and you're making this decision that you want something different. You want a different culture. You want a different set of people that you get to know and you get to hang out with, right? And learn from. What,
Yes.
what what was that? What caused that to happen?
I think there was a drive and a fire in me that I wasn't aware of, where I wanted, I wanted to have influence. I wanted to feel good that I did my best to get to where I could go. Now remember, my academics weren't very good.
Right,
So I couldn't even get into Penn State main campus.
right.
I had to go. So here I am, sophomore year at Pace. I'm vice president of fraternity, have all the friends in the world. It's, close to everyone, family. And I have to transfer to Hazleton, Pennsylvania mid-year, no roommate, and basically just figure it out to try to get into main campus. And um, it's kind of one of those things that's like I was always like doubting myself, but there was something inside of me. I have no idea why. I was like, "You're going to make this work. You're going to figure it out." I had my moments and such, but I wanted something that could have a story about where I was like psyched about and was so proud of. Like, gosh, this feels right.
Was it partially because of your childhood, do you think?
I do. I think that I developed a lot of insecurities,
Yeah,
right? Where it's like I'm not smart, I'm not good enough. And to me, Penn State was a reach school,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
can I do it?
Like a dream kind of thing,
Um
right?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So you're just going to figure it out. No matter what it takes, you're going to figure it out. By the way, story of your life, I think. But let's go. So you go to the remote campus. You're not at main campus. You go to school at Penn State. What was that like?
That semester was really brutal in the beginning because the Hazleton campus is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like a big high school. So I'm
Mhm.
coming from a school in New York where I'm having the time of my life. I'm in a fraternity. It's great. And I knew no one. And you go to the cafeteria to eat. I'm sitting there like a college kid eating by myself. And there was all these like groups and cliques. So it was a little bit, of a weird transition. You're kind of like, gosh, this is kind of weird. Um, but all I had to say to myself was like, but wait till you get to main campus. Like
Mhm.
that's going to be, so kind of pushing through and like, I enjoyed the challenge of it because everyone was like, "Do you sure this is right? What if you don't get in the main campus? That's good." Like parents are like, "Are you wasting money?" I'm like, "I don't know." Yeah. So I did that. Good.
So you kept your eye on the ball,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You do that semester. Then what happens?
I do that semester. I get my grades up. I get into main campus, and so now going to be going into main campus, but don't have a place to live, and I'm going in as a junior. And but I was part of this fraternity that also had at Penn State, and typically fraternities with transfers, they're a little wonky, and who knows, and they could be total losers, or I could be a loser, who knows, right? So my dad, who didn't really like push very much things other than values and family, but so we go up to Penn State, and he goes, "We're going to go by the fraternity house." And I'm like, I don't know. So he goes on the street, it's Locust Lane. He goes, "I want you to go in there and just meet some people." And I'm like, no way. Not just walking in there. Like, that's so weird. And he parked the car and he's like, "We're not leaving till you go in there." And I was like, oh, man, wow. Right.
What?
So
Why?
uh, because I think he knew it would be beneficial to me. He wanted me to go outside my comfort zone, take a risk, meet some people, and he figured it could work out. So I do. I go into this big fraternity house, very intimidating because I was at a very small school and such. And I kind of chit chat with them. Turns out they're like really interesting because we've got three brothers that are going off campus in an apartment, and they need someone to live with. So it all worked out really well. At first, they were like, "We don't take transfers." And then a year later, I was the president of fraternity, which is like my first leadership story.
So you didn't even want to get out of the car to go meet these
Yeah.
people, and you're leading them less than a year later.
Yeah. Well, remember, like my code is always, "You're not smart enough, you're not good enough," right? So I needed someone to disrupt that. And my dad was
Yeah.
like, "I don't care what you're saying to yourself, just go in there and talk to some people."
Do you think he
You know,
saw that in you? Do you think he saw that was going on?
I do. I think, we never had a conversation about this, but I think he's had more confidence in me than I had in myself. And I think that he saw things, that I think made him know what's the worst that could happen, right?
Right.
You know, because he's seen me bounce back before. So
Right.
whatever, when I get made fun of, he's like, "So what? We go to the next place,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Go, Dad. I
Oh
love
yeah,
this guy, man.
huge, huge, huge gift. I mean, I know. Yeah, incredible.
So you graduate from Penn State with a degree in,
Psychology,
okay. Why did you choose psychology?
because I was a mess, right?
So
So
you need to
most
fix you
psychologists are
first.
nuts. It wasn't, so mess is a strong word. It was more of, I wanted to flourish. I wanted to be confident. I wanted to have influence in this world. And I didn't want to let my brain defeat me. I don't know why, but I felt like I could get more out of life. And I felt like I could give a lot more to others. At the time, I wouldn't be able to verbalize that to you, but it was just this at my core, there was a fire burning where I always wanted more. I wanted to give more. I wanted to be a positively powerful person.
Was there a desire to understand yourself, maybe?
It was less of that and more of I want to learn the skills to make me go from insecure to confident. I want to learn the skills that I can help other people that were in the position to me. So it was never like, oh my God, what's going on in my head? It was more of like, all right, give me the tools and let's
How
use
do
them.
I fix this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. How do I not be my worst enemy? And how do I take it to the next level for
Well,
myself
how
and
do you
others?
not be your worst enemy? And then also, how do you help others? Because I'm looking at your body of work. Okay. I'm looking at
Yeah.
your life's work. And everything here has a common theme, it has a common thread, right? And the common thread is you're constantly trying to help people improve. You're constantly trying to help people take whatever they're doing to a whole nother level, including their understanding of other people, right?
Yes.
That is rooted in the reason why you chose psychology in the first place. You with me? So a
Yes.
lot of that came from the fact that you were kind of down on yourself as a kid and you had sort of this narrative, sort of this thing going on in your mind, and you're looking at you and going, okay, there have got to be other people out there like this. I'm going to fix me and then I'm going to go help. You with me? I just
Yes.
I just love where
Yes.
you come from in this thing. I mean, I really do. So, okay.
Yeah.
So after Penn State, you decide to go where?
After Penn State, I knew I wanted to go to grad school, and everyone was saying you can't do it. So I said I need to take a year, not a gap year like a fun kid does now, but I had to take a year to work and to figure out how I can get into grad school. So I'm laughing because I never thought about it this way. So I during the days I worked in New York City at Tiffany and Company's flagship store in customer service. So people come in, all these wealthy people with a problem with their jewelry, yada yada, all that stuff. You're helping them, but you learned how to get beaten down and not take it personally, and you learned how to be resourceful, right? I mean, you think about back then in the '90s, it was Manhattan, like there was a lot of rich mean people, right? um, so during the day I did that, and at night I worked at a psych hospital, an inpatient psych hospital as a mental health worker, where I basically was like kind of like almost like a camp counselor, but in a psych ward, to try to build my resume so I could figure out which schools to apply to, um, and go to. And another, you think about people that are really big impressions in your life. There's a woman I grew up with named Vicky Elkins, and she helped me decide to go to Penn State, but also I wanted to go to Springfield College's athletic counseling program, which was a psych-based sports psych program, which was very rare back then. There's probably only like two. Anyway, I apply, I don't get in, I get put on the waiting list, and I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to go there. Go to JFK and Orinda, meet with them, get accepted, and think I'm going to go there. Again, my mom and dad say, hey, there's a conference in Springfield. I think you should call and see if you can get into the conference and just do that. I'm like, sure, I'll do that. I call the head director of the program, answers the phone, and he's like, hey, I remember your name. He goes, we actually just had a spot open up. Why don't you come to the conference and let's see if you like it, and then we'll take you. And that was Dr. Pettipa, who's my mentor and advisor. One of them was two of the greatest years of my life, where I learned the core skills of counseling and advising and consulting.
So that was with what school?
That was Springfield College's athletic counseling in Massachusetts.
Okay. And so was it your master's you were working on?
That was my master's, and the reason I applied there and the one in Orinda was those were the only two programs in the field that didn't take GRE scores. You didn't have to have a GRE. They
Oh.
didn't know that, but that was the only reason.
Yeah, don't tell them.
Yeah,
Right?
because I not that I didn't try, I just didn't have good GRE scores.
Right.
But I also knew I wanted to go to a doctor program, so I delayed the inevitable.
Right.
But that was kind of why I went there.
So you go there and earn your master's in sports psychology?
So that was called athletic counseling, but it's essentially performance psychology, but with a focus and emphasis on the whole person as opposed to just on the field. So you try to learn like how it all integrates, and you're trained to understand how off the field things impact performance.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that because that's right in line with what you do. Okay, so
yeah,
you graduate from there and you decide to get your PhD. Not a small decision,
yeah,
people. Okay, can you talk about that for
yeah.
you? You barely got into Springfield for what you're saying, right?
Barely. Yeah, yeah. So um, I didn't know how I was going to do it. The probability was against me, but I knew somehow I was going to figure it out. It was a really rough path where I was down a lot and felt defeated. So to get into a PhD program back then, especially counseling or clinical psych, you needed a 1200 or above on the GREs.
Mhm.
So a couple things come to play here. You also need good grades on your research methods class and your stats class. So all the while, I knew I was going to have to build relationships in order to get into one of these programs. My advisor's good friend was the director at Virginia Commonwealth's counseling program, counseling psych, that also had a sports psych subspecialty, so to speak. So it was perfect for me. However, they get so many applications, and they don't even look at someone that has at least a 1200 on the juries. So I'm talking to this director the whole time during the 2 years there, and he goes, first of all, you got a B in research methods, you have to get an A, take it again. So now I got to retake research methods, and I got a B again.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. So I do that again, and my mind just isn't that kind of academic research type of brain. So now I'm like, gosh, and he's like, and you have to get your GRE scores up. So I take tutoring. I take 2 GRE classes. I take the GRE. I call the director. I tell him what I got, and he goes, "Were you sick?" I said, "No, I wasn't sick." But that's what I got. Anyway, I got to know him quite well, and over those 2 years, I worked my butt off, got great experiences, and ended up getting into their doctoral program, essentially through building experiences, relationships, and it was a different approach. But everywhere else I applied, it was kind of like GRE score, like see ya. It's
Right.
like so I needed someone to give me a shot, and I'm grateful that Dr. Danish did. Bless his heart, he's passed away, but him and he gave me an opportunity.
So did you basically talk your way into this school, into this program?
So many people see this podcast. um, I, yes, I built relationships. I worked my butt off, and I tried to build the case of, even though I don't have the academic pedigree for what they were looking for, I believe I could do a lot of good in this world, and give me a shot. And they did.
Okay. So they have these minimum requirements of which you don't meet, right? You go back and try to get there and you don't get there. What ended up what made him ultimately decide to say yes?
I think he saw. Well, I'll tell you what he said to me the first year. He goes, "I need you to find the confidence that matches your competence." And his message was still more of the same, as like he saw things in me that I didn't yet see or believe, right? Um, so, and I think that his friend, who was my advisor in the athletic counseling program, was able to see things as well. So I think that was it. And also, you know, um, there are things like, you can't get a visit unless you were asked. I was like, okay, I can't visit. I was like, well, what if I'm in Richmond, Virginia? Can I stop by? Like, type of thing. I think he just saw like a pure raw determination of like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to, I didn't know that, but I knew that my drive was like off the charts because Mike, everyone told me I couldn't. Even my parents, as much as they love me, believe me, they would say things like, "Are you setting yourself up for failure? Are you how you already got the masters? How much you can continue to take on these things that just aren't realistic?" I
Mhm.
said, well, "I'm going to keep doing it." you know, yeah.
So he was convinced you weren't going to go away, so you get admitted?
They no, they weren't convinced. They wanted to soften. Because my parents
Well, I'm not
saw
talking
the
about your
path,
parents. I'm
and so
talking
did
about the
my.
doc. I'm talking about the people that admitted you.
Oh, I think the one person who would get a lot of applications, he was a sports psychologist and a counseling psychologist. I think he saw something in me that he wanted to nurture, and I
Yeah.
think he saw, yeah, I think he saw perseverance, and he saw my willingness to do whatever it takes, and my passion for connecting with people and helping them grow. That's my assumption.
So you know how 2020s or hindsight's 2020?
Yeah, yeah.
If you were a listener listening to this or watching us on YouTube, whatever, what would the moral of the story be?
The moral of the story would be careful who and what you listen to, and always be the best player on your own team.
Is it possible that relationships trump all?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't care how good I get at my advising. I'm sure you have too. I've interacted with, advised, worked with the best in the world, your Ivy League breeds and all that. If you want to have true value and truly transform and help someone help themselves and equip them to be successful, you have to understand them and you have to have a relationship because they will let you push them further than anyone that ever has.
Amen, brother. Amen. I love that. That is probably the best thing we've said already all day. Okay. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about motivational currency. You've got to hear this. We'll be right back. Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today. And we're back with Dr. Rob Fazio, and we're talking about your career. We're talking about, we just graduated with a PhD, right? Well, actually, we got you in with a PhD, into the PhD program,
Yeah.
right? What was the single most important thing that got you through? Was it just that grit, that determination? Was it the fact that he took a chance on you?
I wanted to demonstrate to myself first and everyone else that even if all the odds are against you, you could find a way.
Yeah.
If you're resourceful enough and you're willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes, you can find a way. It takes a lot of work. I think that was my drive, and you know, I there were a lot of tough times in my doctoral program, particularly in kind of the research types of things, because um, I'd have to work really, really hard to understand certain concepts. So I always had to work much harder than my peers and colleagues because they were all the ones that were smart, right?
Mhm.
But I had something different. Um, I had the ability, so we're talking about psychology here. I had the natural innate ability to get to the core and connect with a very wide range of people.
Yeah.
And that that was just luck. Like that was just in me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd agree with it. It's luck. It's sort of the harder you work, the luckier you get, you know. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
I think a part of this is your upbringing, but I think part of this is you're just absolutely flipping determined that you're going to figure out a way to make this work no matter what. And this man has taken a a chance on you, and your parents were trying to protect you, right? How did your
yeah.
parents react when you graduated?
Um, it was it was great. I wanted to make them proud. Um, gosh, I was lucky. Like I made, including myself, a lot of people proud. Like I just had, my group of friends from Pace are like, "You're going to be a doctor," like all my friends, and like, but it was so foreign that holy crap, Rob actually pulled this off. Like, um, and I had just I still to this day just great friends who just believed in me, would come visit me. So I think it was really, I mean, it was just a cool celebration. My mom was ecstatic. Unfortunately, my dad didn't get to see it because he passed before that.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's sometimes I don't integrate the story and stuff, but it's not a secret. But um, I'm gonna try to do this without getting emotional, and I will. But he was in the towers on 9/11,
Mhm.
and so when all that happened, it's such another gift. He was last seen holding the door to help people and to help people to get home. And when they were saying over the loudspeakers, everyone go back to work, he was in Tower Two, and he's like, "No, we're not going back to work. Everyone leave. Go home. Get out." People are trying to come back, and so in his honor, we actually started a nonprofit called Hold the Door for Others, where we help people deal with trauma and loss and those types of things. So,
I love that,
yeah, it's
man.
pretty special.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So you lost your dad during that program while you were in the PhD program?
yeah, yeah. I guess it was my fourth year. Yeah, yeah,
That had to have been really
yeah.
hard.
It was incredibly hard, and also I don't know. I've got this fortunate, innate, weird, unique brain where I was like, okay, that wasn't very good. So how do we use this? And how do we make this a positive? People are out there hurting a lot more. Here I am about to work on a dissertation. Why not do it on the family of 9/11, but not just about the trauma and how we can grow through these experiences?
Yeah,
So it all clicked. And now I was able to amplify and magnify my desire and drive passion for helping others in the toughest times. And now I had a platform
that's
for a
cool.
period of time. And yeah, I mean, I was flying and driving back while looking for my dad, defending my dissertation and things like that. But I was going to be damned if like wasn't going to tap out now.
Yeah, no way. Wow, that is so cool, dude. So sorry about your dad, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about the money multiplier. Sorry, pardon me. Pardon me. Motivational currency. Money multiplier. Where in the world did that come from?
Well, but hopefully it is a
Sorry.
money
Well,
multiplier.
hopefully it is a money multiplier, right? But it's motivational currency. Let's talk about motivational currency. Sorry, man, I'm getting emotional. I'm getting emotional with you, so
I
I
I
apologize.
I hear you. It's
Lost my
but this
train of
is
thought for a
but
second.
this is but this is the real stuff. It's
Yeah,
like, I always used to question whether or not I was strong. And then I got the gift of this tragedy
yeah,
to help me learn about strength, but also be a bridge and a vehicle for others to be able to find that strength.
yeah. And that's a big deal, man. That is a big deal. And in honor of your dad, amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, right? Okay, so motivational currency. Talk about that for a second. Where did you come up with the idea and then the application?
So the foundation for it is there was a Harvard psychologist, Dave McClelland, who um, was doing research around social motives. So he called them achievement, affiliation, and power. And my advisor did his dissertation on need achievement, like the need for achievement. So all these in the workplace, when you hear about competency models,
Mhm.
David McClelland was the godfather. He or the grandfather. Again, this is so anything comes out. He was the grandfather of the start of it all, of competencies, of this behavioral indicators of what makes people be able to accomplish tasks and build skills, right?
Right.
Um, and at the foundation, he wanted to understand what drives people. And so I went off to a large firm who also used these social motives in business. And there were these three motives. And the way they would do it is in psychology, there's something called a projective test. So think of like
Mhm.
the Rorschach or something like
Mhm.
that. Like they show you a picture. So they would show these business people a picture, they'd write a story, and then that story would get coded. And then it would say, okay, what percentage are you in achievement, affiliation, or power? And I liked the foundation, but it wasn't business friendly
Mhm.
because what executive wants to write 5 paragraphs, wait 2 weeks for it to get coded or something like that? So then I created a version based on that and my experiences that is around four motivators, which are aligned, which is performance, people, power, and purpose. But I wanted people to not just be able to understand themselves, but to have good accuracy in reading at others and then being able to adapt and lead others.
Right.
And so the whole idea around it is if you know what drives you, you're better able to not be a prisoner to your natural instincts and tendencies and
Mhm.
be more strategic and intentional to understand others, connect with them, and then influence them through what they value as opposed to what you value.
Gotcha.
Um, Yep. So that was at the core, and then I created an assessment that tells you what your drivers are, and then there's also a skill aspect to it where you see how good you are at reading and leading others.
Right. And it takes 25 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Assessment about 25 minutes.
Unbelievable. And then how soon do you have your answer back?
Within 5 minutes, maybe less. Yeah, it's real quick. Matter of fact, I just finished just this week a course on motivational currency where the assessment is embedded in it. And because I can't be everywhere, and I love this stuff, so it's like someone can go through at their own pace and learn these skills and how to apply it. And I'm very big on simplicity and practicality. So after a conversation with me or a course or something, I want you minute one to be able to think differently and apply
Mm.
different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell. I mean, it's amazing, man. It's a big, big part of who you are and how your work is evolving. Can you talk for a second about simple is the new smart?
Yeah. So Simple and Smart was my first book, and that was very much so a like I've always wanted to do this, and I must have contacted I don't know 100 or so editors, publishers. I mean, I kept all my notes. I've got them in emails. I mean, there's a good list. But I kept at it. Eventually, I got introduced to a literary agent. That was my fourth or fifth literary agent, and she was able to find a small, s- uh, you know, a, a traditional publisher, but a smaller one that liked the concept. And my whole idea was like, okay, great. Everyone goes to trainings. Everyone learns stuff academics and everyone makes things way too complicated. It's
Mhm.
pretty easy. Just teach them how to have a conversation, teach them how to build confidence, teach them how not to beat themselves up. So I integrated kind of some sports psychology, regular psychology, business stuff. And it's kind of like a great foundational, it's great foundationally for people leaders, but it's
Mhm.
also good for the everyday person that wants to get out of their way and wants to excel.
So, what's the simple part? The simple part is you just learn how to connect, you learn how to motivate people, you learn how to lead.
First is you learn how to get out of your own way. So you learn right about your patterns, you learn about how you're holding yourself back,
Mhm.
and then move forward, whatever, like stop. Like, and I try to teach some strategies on like how to do that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's amazing when you're not focusing on what your brain that isn't very smart is telling you on a daily basis, you focus on where you want to go,
Yeah.
right? And how to get there. And everything is, there's 26 skill sets in it, and they're all very simple. So if you learned like 3 or 4 of them, you'd be able to memorize them. So my rules are, it's got to be something that's easily digestible, appetizing, that you want to learn it, and memorable so you can recall it. And so I use a lot of like alliteration, right?
Mm-hmm.
To help people remember and stuff like that. It's so funny. One of my first reviews I got on Amazon, everything, like you're looking at everyone, was great book, helpful information, but it was too simplistic. I'm like, and that's what I'm successful. That's what I want.
It was too simple. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Simple is the new smart.
Yeah. And I think it was part of a little bit of the chip on my shoulder, where some people um, just talk just to talk, and they
Yeah.
pontificate and they intimidate through using data. And half the time it's a bunch of BS.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, there's some things that hold true in conversations and in influence and in difficult times. And I want to be the bridge from the science to the people.
Yeah. And you are, man. I mean, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's a big deal in terms of how you've lived your life, right? You got into your PhD program because of a relationship, right? What's
Yes.
interesting about this, when somebody has PhD at the end of their name, okay, Dr. Rob Fazio, PhD, okay, is when somebody reads something from somebody that has PhD at the end of their name, they expect it to be some overly complicated thing that's going to make their head hurt to read it. And that's not
Yes.
what you're doing here. And can I ask you this? Do you feel like maybe there's a level of insecurity with these PhDs that have to put all of this mind numbing, number crunching stuff in that, like it's like they're going to be reviewed by some board or something, and the people that are members of that board are going to look down on them or something?
Historically, PhDs have been in this functional climates where they've been bullied, and now they bully back.
Yeah.
And so they become data bullies, or like, and it's great. Science has its place, but there's good science. A
Yeah.
lot of this research is people just massaging stats half the time, right? And doing things like that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of great, but like PhDs don't even learn how to teach, and they're the ones teaching.
Right.
There's no training in a PhD program on how to be a teacher,
Right.
right? So the academic world, I'm sorry, is just very disconnected from reality.
I
Of
agree with
course, you've
that.
got your pockets of experts that do both, but a PhD would come in and tell you how to run your podcast based on science, and it would flop in a second.
Mhm.
Partially because you would be muddling through what the heck they're trying to say, and secondly because there's no real life experience with it. So
Right.
I think the best is in simplifying, integrating, letting science be part of it, but not be the end all do all. So the short answer to your question is yes, I think there's a lot of insecurity out there.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So motivational currency, is it something that can go through sort of how people can use it? I mean, I know it's a personal thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So somebody goes in and they
Yeah.
take the assessment. Can you use it to assess like candidates for a job?
Yes, it can be a piece. So when you assess talent for candidates, or if they're like a private equity company looking at a management team, you want to have multiple points of data.
Right.
Motivation currency is a great piece of that puzzle. You
Right.
also want to have some things in other areas. But what it's really good for is onboarding, and
Mhm.
then helping people develop and helping them become aware of their tendencies so they don't make the same missteps,
Right.
right? And what's great about it is we know the more stressed we are, the more we go to our own comfort levels.
Right.
And So when you do that, you go back to your primary driver. So if I'm very driven by performance and someone's very driven by people and there's stress, we're going to miss each other and we're
Yeah.
going to have conflict and friction. So
Yeah.
it's good for conflict resolution. It's great for influence. It's great for diversity and appreciating other people and where they come from. It's good to use a lot in team situations. Yeah.
So if somebody would like to work with you, how can they reach you?
A number of ways. So LinkedIn, Rob Fazio is great. GetOnPoint.com is my site for the course, and that goes to my main. And On Point Advising is my main website, but they're all connected.
So onpointadvising.com, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the other one, what was it?
GetOnPoint.com.
GetOnPoint.com.
That's the easiest one to remember. Yeah.
I try to repeat these things for people because we have people that are watching this. We also have people that are listening to it, and
Yes.
they're typically driving, working out, whatever, while they're consuming podcasts. And so I want to make sure that people know how they can go about reaching you. I cannot thank you enough for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been a very fast hour, and I've enjoyed every second of it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so glad we had a chance to meet.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you for your raw genuineness and appreciation for how we can help people help themselves. I appreciate it.
Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.